Here on Daf Yudal from Ralph. Are they going strong still in there?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay. It's a boutique.
For Spitzer Library.
My girlfriend was in there for a while.
Okay, Masnisa Pliga Rabbi Yochanan. Our Mishnah argues Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan is the one who said that top line of Yudal from Ralph. 21. Masnisa Pliga Rabbi Yochanan. Our Mishnah, the following Bryce, I should say, argues Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan is the one who drew a distinction. We had a machlokas yesterday between the rabbis in Bavel and Rabbi Yochanan. Where the rabbis in Bavel held that both, where two people say she was widowed and two people say she wasn't widowed, and where two people say she was divorced and two people say she wasn't divorced, in both these cases she shouldn't get married, right? But and if she get married, she doesn't have to get divorced. She can remain married. Okay, she shouldn't get remarried, but she doesn't get remarried. She doesn't have to get divorced. Rabbi Yochanan drew the distinction. He said, if two people say died, two people say didn't die, so then if she shouldn't get married, but if she got married, she can stay married. If two people say she was divorced, two people say she wasn't divorced, then she shouldn't get married. If she gets married, she can't stay remarried. She has to dissolve the marriage. And the reason being that in the first case, the Adam are much more concerned to tell the truth, because if the guy comes, it demonstrates that they were liars altogether, because they said he was dead. In the second case, even the guy comes and says, I didn't divorce her, so it's their word against his word, and therefore they might be brazen enough to lie under that situation. Okay? So Fine Bryce seems to argue, Rabbi Yochanan, that Schneimer in this base, two people say that this woman was taken captive, V'tohera, despite that, she remained Torah. In other words, her captors did not rape her. Ushtaim in this base, she was taken captive, and her captors raped her. Lotino says she may not get married to a Kohen, obviously. Meaning, says if she did get married to a Kohen, Loite says she doesn't have to get divorced. Rabbi, so in this case we see that she doesn't have to get divorced. According to Rabbi Yochanan, we should apply the principles he said before and say that she should have to get divorced, because there's no way of the Adam can never be absolutely disproved, so therefore maybe they will be brazen enough to tell a lie. Some Rabbi said no. Here he lays down a principle. Since these guys say she remained chaste, and these guys say that she was raped, it's the same thing as if these two say she was taken captive, and these say she wasn't taken captive. And in this case, we allow ourselves to be guided by her say-so. Now, that's a very interesting thing, that in certain cases we say we're guided by what she says, we accept what she's saying. Now, the Pnei Moshe says here that there's a special leniency by Shvuya, by a woman who's taken captive. And indeed, the Bavli also has special leniencies by women who are taken captive. But later on, I would like to cast aspersions on this Pnei Moshe, because later on this evening, in a few minutes, we'll see cases where even beyond captives, we also seem to give her certain rights to make assertions, which we shall follow. The question is where we do and where we don't, but we'll leave that for now. Okay? Shnaima Niskachu. Let's say two say she got married. Shnaima Niskachu, two says she didn't get married. So what's her status in that case? Okay, it's not a question whether she got divorced. Now it's a question whether she got married. Rabbi Yonah says it's like forbidden fats. Two people say so and so ate forbidden fat. Two people say he didn't eat forbidden fat. Does he not have to bring an asham totally? Right, a questionable asham lest he ate the fat. The call here too, he didn't get me suffix. Let's make him give a get because of the suffix. Maybe Taka is married to her. Rabbi Yosef said, "Lo tadamnina l'chalavim." Do not draw a comparison between this and forbidden fats, because by forbidden fats, she can't feel omar libo nogdeni. Even if he just said, "My heart feels guilty," maybe Asham Toli, you can bring an Asham Toli. So Asham Toli can be brought at the drop of a hat, but it's not so simple to say that you require a get. Getting costs money. It's not so easy to that's not why. But it's not so simple to say to you, mechayiv him to give a get. So therefore here it's not necessarily parallel. Says the Gemara, Masnis, the five Bryces seem to be pleaded, seems to argue Rabbi Yossi. So Shnaim in Iskach, 2 people say she was married. Shnaim in the Lord Iskach, so 2 people say she wasn't married. Lotina say, it says she shouldn't get married. According to Rabbi Yossi, why should she get married? We said it's not like Oshim Toli, so therefore she must not need a get. So therefore, why should she get married to somebody else? The same will be Rabbi Yonah. The end of the Bryce argues Rabbi Yonah. Rabbi Yonah says that she needs a get. The end of Bryce says Imni say, says the word missing here. Lo say, she doesn't have to get divorced from her second husband. Why not? According to Rabbi Yonah, she needed a get in order to get remarried. So if she didn't get the get, so you should have to dissolve her second marriage. Rabbi Yonah said, Ramana said, nah, wrong. What Rabbi Yossi and Martina say? Rabbi Yossi never said that she could get remarried even without a get. Below Rabbi Yonah did not say, even say that if she does get remarried, she has to get divorced immediately. Law, my law, they're only talking about, they're only schmoozing. They weren't drawing absolute parallels. Law, my law, already said it's low to that men of chalovim. Don't say it's precisely like chalovim. Shekain, I feel my libi nokteni, because by chalovim even just said I feel guilty. Maybe Oshim Toli brings an Oshim Toli. So everybody said there's no precise comparison, but it could be he still would require a get over here. Even though Oshim Toli is much more easy to bring. Maybe here it requires a get nonetheless, and vice versa. Rabbi Yehuda said, well, he should give a get because 2 people said the marriage was valid. Maybe he holds that, nevertheless, if she didn't get a get, she still is allowed, and married somebody else, she still is allowed to remain married to that second person. So the parallels are not complete enough that we should be able to ask a question or infer a question from one brisa, on these 2 Amorim. Okay? Now, next Mishnah. It's a great Mishnah. By the way, I prepared today. I have to tell you, it hit me today. We're talking now in Yavamas. He likes Yavamas, so it's difficult to say this. But I was just preparing. It just went smoothly. It was so easy. What?
We will be in about another week.
Yeah, I know. That's what frightens me. Okay. You can't win. This Torah, Kodesh Baruch gave us is a tough one. It says that Hashem owes la moyitei. Hashem gave Am Yisrael some medrash. Hashem gave Am Yisrael a tough Torah. Okay. The witnesses will say that this is our signature. But we were compelled to sign this document. We were minors when we signed the document. We were postulated because we were related at the time. Harel and that money they're believed to say they're credible, they're given credit to render the document puzzle, right? If the shtar can be verified independently, right? The independent witnesses that this is their signature, or even there aren't witnesses. Rather, we can verify that this is their signature by comparing it to other documents which they are known to have signed, and in their mind they're not believed. Tani, we learned to the Bryce of Chenedim Shehidu Men Tami Lator. Witnesses testified about matters of Tumah and Tara, being L'Rachik to cause somebody to become apostle, L'Karav to cause something to become kosher, being Lesa to cause some substance to become forbidden, being La to cause some substance to be permitted, being L'Schus for merit, being L'Chova for demerit. Before they are cross-examined based in if they would say we are fooling around, or another gear some that we were compelled to say falsehood, so we accept what they say. I read in that morning accepted their belief to cancel their original testimony. However, a very famous principle, once they're cross-examined in court, if they said we were lying before, they're not believed. Principle, once they said testimony, they can't renege on their testimony. They can't change what they said. Okay? Says the more further, hey, no means Reb Shimon Lakish, that's also that if they even further, if witnesses are signed in a document, then commission as if their testimony has been cross-examined in court, and therefore they cannot renege from what they said in the document. So, hey, no means they knew what what if they say this is our signatures? And others say this is their signatures. So then, taught us they cannot change whatever it says in the document, because since they're independent corroboration of the document being signed by them, so therefore they're not believed to say anything about what it says there anymore. Rather, we accept the testimony as it says it verbatim. Rabbi Yosef said, "Masisa Amarkin." Our Mishnah says that it says, if this is their independent verification that this is their handwriting, either by testimony or by handwriting analysis, they're not believed to make a deal here. They say it is our document. We did sign it. And others say they didn't sign it. Amana said it's like a star in which there was a foul called and not resolved, so technically they're in limbo, right? When limbo means we do not rip up the star because it might be good, we do not use the star to collect because it might be bad, period. Now going on the end of the Mishnah, so where it says that Adam will say that this is your their handwriting, or the Adam whose signatures can be verified based on the document. So what is the other document which basis that their signatures can be verified? So Rabbi Asi said, "Uvad shebishtar shekor nikra lav arar." Another document on the basis of which you verify the signatures must be a document which was challenged in court. People challenge it. The sky based and sustained. So therefore, it's a valid source of signature analysis. Rabbi Lezimar, no. Even if Loni sky based, if it was to say another court, we assume that it is a legitimate star, and we do it by analysis in comparison. Amar said, you know why? Time with Rabbi Lezer is the reason Rabbi Lezer came at since it's consistent that these witnesses signed in several stars and they're all similar, even if it wasn't a star which was tested in court. That's commission Edusam Basin. It's as if they've been cross-examined in court and therefore accept their testimony, and that's the end of that. Rav Chana Amar,
I guess my only question is,
yes.
This is really a principle promulgated by Reish Lakish. This is really an unroid principle.
Sure.
It's not tonight.
Not that I'm aware of. In the Bavli also, it's Reish Lakish's statement.
Is it really?
Yeah. Okay. Rav Chana Amar made him say for Muga. It's a fascinating thing. If you can tell a person's signature by looking at the Sefer Torah he wrote, because you can tell the style of his handwriting, so that also is a source of verifying the signature. Only, however, could go on Elon Dumber, they say, Sifroi Asi. Oh, this is a book written by Asi the scribe. In other words, we know that it's Sefer Torah. But if it's just a letter, not a full Sefer Torah, and also when I guess we're not 100% sure he wrote it, so then we can't extrapolate from that from a letter, or we don't know whether we can or not. Tzricha means it remains a question. Said, even Rabbi Lezer said we can verify based on unchallenged documents. It's only Bilvad Shlosha Shtar Shlosha Bnei Adam, that the handwriting sample, meaning the document which is signed, has to which are used to verify the signatures, have to be done on 3 separate stars of 3 separate people. Okay, so you have to find 3 incidences in order to sustain the signatures. Says more further. Rav Chuna b'Shem Rav said. Now the Gemara to the Mishnah, the Girus is obviously messed up. It's quite obvious it's messed up. But I'm just going to do minimal tikkunim because you can get the gist of it even without doing major work, even though it's obvious it needs major work. Says more. Rav Chuna b'Shem Rav said, witnesses are believed to say shtar amona, that the document they signed was a shtar amona, meaning it was written for a loan which might potentially take place but never actually took place. So it's written in forecast of a loan, but it wasn't actually for a loan. Or shtar pusitim. A shtar pusitim is actually a shtar where the document is actually not valid at all. There was no loan and no intent to make a loan. But the guy who was written as a creditor wants to make a splash in the world as if he's got a lot of money to toss around. So therefore they write him a document claiming that he actually made a loan even though he never actually made a loan. So these are both false documents. One is a loan, a document written in anticipation loan. The other is a document written for a loan which will never take place, but they're false documents, right? They're obviously false. So can one, is a witness believed to say this shtar which we sign is a shtar amona or shtar pasim? Or do we say like Ein Adam Mesim Atzmo Rasha? We don't believe you did such a dastardly deed as to sign in such a document, right? So it says Rav Chuda b'Shem Rav said Ne'emoni Me'im L'Mar. He didn't believe to say shtar amona or shtar pusitim. It's one of these false documents. Now here throw in the words ma'u polig from the next line. What does Rav argue himself? The Rav Amar Rav says, "Also lachtoim b'shtar manim b'shtar piyusim," and also you're not allowed to sign them. So how can we believe them if they say that they sign shtar manim b'shtar piyusim? They're making themselves rishoyim that they transgressed. So we can't believe it. They say this. And I'm Rebbe Shem Rav, and so how do we have the people say the name of Rav? The witnesses are believed to say shtar manim shtar piyusim piyusimu. How can they believe to say Milsa the Rav? Please on Milsa the Rav. Rav is contradicting himself. Amr Chagai says lo, and here there's a very interesting distinction. It says lo. It's mamish splitting hairs. Lo the Rav. For this they make fun of us. Lo the Rav Amar Asur Lachtom. He never said it's usur to write. El usur lekaye. You're not allowed to leave it in your house. You're allowed to write it. You're just not allowed to leave it extant. So therefore, they're believed to say that they sign in shtar manim shtar pasim. Because that's not the Rishus. The Rishus is leaving it in the house. So who's the Rasha here? Not them. The legend Malveh. So that's what it says. It says, Im oven biyadcha, if an evil thing is in your hand, archikeu, distance it from yourself. Zeh shtar amana, that's a document for a potential loan. Ushtar putisim, and a document for a loan which never took place. Tashke balecha avla, do not leave in your tent a bad thing. Zeshtar Peru, a document which has already been paid up and you have not returned to the borrower. So it's interesting that the Bavli and Yerushalmi argue this. The Bavli doesn't distinguish between writing and leaving in your house. It doesn't split that hair. So going to Bavli, Eidim and Taka not believed to say Amona Hoyu Divrei. They're not believed to say sign Shtar Amona Shtar Pasim because that would make them Rishoyim. And we ain't no dumb Mesim Atzmo Rasha. A person can't say about himself something which imports it to Russia. It's only Yerushalmi which draws a distinction between writing, which is technically okay, and sustaining, which is not okay, that they're believed to say that they actually wrote a improper shtar.
So you see, the Yerushalmi probably does hold the Ein Mesim Atzmo Rasha too. That's what they had to resort to.
Yeah, they probably do hold it, even though it's not expressed here properly. Right.
Well, the question is, who's the Russia? Is it the Eidim that wrote the shtar, or the person that tried?
No, but we're at the Eidim, we're the Rishoyim, then we wouldn't accept what they're saying. But we do accept the principle. We don't have the application here is not applied. Okay, Zel Mer Ksav Yodi. Each one says, "This is my handwriting." Zel Mer Ksav Yodi. Zel Ksav Yodi Shel Chaveri. Each sign the shtar. One says, this is my handwriting, and that's my friend's handwriting. And the other says, that's my handwriting, that's my friend's handwriting. I really have money to believe, then the document is sustained. Each one says, this is my handwriting. Each one testifies on his own, but not on his friend's. So now how much testimony do you have on each signature? Only one. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda knows, he says, they need a third guy from the marketplace to testify with each one of them that it's their signature. And that makes two. They don't need somebody else to join with them. If the witness himself comes to court and says, this is my signature, and I testify to this document, so he doesn't need another witness to verify his signature. If two strangers are verifying, because the witness is not around, he died or he left, then you need to. But if the guy himself can verify, you only need one. Says the Gemara, Lama Nitzacha. Why do we need the beginning of the Mishnah? Where it says, if I testify, it's my document, my signature, and the other guy's signature, and he testifies in his signature and my signature, that's not good. It's obvious. That is good. Sorry. No, the Chiddush quotes Rebbe. Even though he holds each guy testifies on his own signature, need a third party. He concedes that each one is believed on the other one's signature. Rabbi Zera said, Tani Kesuvos base Rav. We learned the Kesuvos as learned in the house of Rav. Divrei Rebbe. According to Rebbe, and this is in the Bavli as well. Alashtar. According to Rebbe, witnesses testify that the document is correct. And therefore you need two witnesses on each signature, right? According to Chachon, they testify on the facts specified in the document. And therefore you only need two witnesses altogether. You see that machlokas? If you're testifying on the shtar, so you need two witnesses on each signature, because the shtar is an independent entity. You're testifying on the Eidim who signed on the shtar, so each aid needs two witnesses on his veracity. But if they're testifying like Rabbanan say, not on the veracity of the shtar, but on the facts in the shtar, so we need two Eidim on the facts, and each aid testifies through his signature. He has an affinity, and he testifies on the fact laid out in the shtar. Okay? So Rav Chuda said, it's a catch. So he's got to remember his testimony. Meaning when he sees a signature, he can't just say, well, I don't know what it says, but that's my signature. He's got to remember that there actually was such a Maisa that 15 years ago, Yankel borrowed $100 from Beryl. Okay, he's got to remember that. So it says the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan doesn't remember his testimony, it's still sufficient to have just the two witnesses verify the signatures. Besides Rav Chuda Rebbe, and Rav Chuda is going like Rebbe, that he has got to remember his edus, because he doesn't remember his edus, then he's testifying the document, and therefore you need to have two witnesses on each. And besides Rav Chuda, Rabbi Yochanan Rabbanan. And Rabbi Yochanan says, no, they testify on the content of the documents, like Rabbanan, that they don't need separate witnesses, two witnesses each on the signatures. Now, I have actually a note here that I wrote the note today, that the Big Day Sheish speaks about this, so yeah? Big Day Sheish actually go to Yerushalmi, even though the Big Day Sheish is not known to have been a Baki of Yerushalmi. So it's in any event, I have a little discussion of this, and actually it's a big machlokes in Achronim. When it says according to Rabbi Yochanan, they don't have to remember their testimony. Does it mean they literally don't have to remember a thing about their testimony? Or does it mean they still have to remember a little bit? That they were reminded by the shtar, even though they didn't remember independently. But they still have to be reminded of the incident. So that's a big machlokus, whether they have to be reminded at all, or they don't have to be reminded at all. Okay, but that's not an issue for today to discuss. But we do pass Rabbi Yochanan that they don't have to remember it, but the question is whether they have to remember a little bit, and Rambam does pass me that they do have to remember a little bit. Anyway, Rabbi Zira Rav Chuda B'Shem Rav says, now this is a case which is called in the Bavli Naki Riva de Mamona Puma de Chad Sada, which I know sounds like gibberish. What it means is a quarter less than the full amount is coming out on the basis of one witness, and that's no good. Meaning, if I testify, there are two witnesses. I testify that my part is correct. I mean, that I was a witness. And then the other witness is not around, so I testify with somebody else in the marketplace that that's his signature. So I'm now actually responsible for 75% of the shtar's effectiveness, right? Because I'm testifying my signature is correct, and I'm half of the testimony which testifies that my friend's signature is correct. So I'm responsible for 75%, a quarter less than the full amount of the document. You understand that? No good. Says the it's no good. Says the Gemara again. Rabbi Zira and Rav Chuda B'Shem Rav said, "Hu v'acher mitzdarfen al chasimas eid hasheni," but where He and somebody else cannot join up to testify on the second signature. What's the case? One of them recognized his signature, and his friend's signature, and the other signature is not recognized by anyone, which is not literal, of course, because then the shtar wouldn't work. Right? There's only one person from the marketplace who recognizes the other signature. So he's got to join with that person, because you need two witnesses on the other signature, because it's not his signature. In other words, here it says that his friend, his friend recognized the signature, friend from the marketplace. I'm sorry, he, in other words, the guy who signed, recognizes his fellow signature. That's what it means. Can he join the guy who was here, who recognized his own signature and his friend's signature? Can he join the marketplace? Love testify the second signature. So the answer is no, because he is responsible for 75% of the document's effectiveness, and no aid can be responsible for more than 50% of the document's effectiveness. They are responsible for less. You can have multiple aidim, which draws down the responsibility even lower, but no aid can be responsible for more than 50% of the shtar's effectiveness. It's a fascinating concept. Okay?
Well, I just thought of it because the guy from the shuk recognizes witness B's signature. Doesn't recognize.
But that's not the issue.
That's not the
issue. The issue is that he should be 75% possible. We're responsible, which is chiddush. Okay, but the Bibli holds that too. Says the Gemara, lo tzurcha da. That's bullshit. That's not work. Ella, rather, the question like this. There are two people sign a document. Everybody knows the one guy's signature. And the other one, nobody knows. But the other signator does recognize his friend's signature. So the other signator, can he become like one person in the marketplace? In order to testify.
Testify what? He doesn't recognize the signature.
His signature everybody recognizes, right? He wants to testify in the other signature.
But no one recognizes it.
He does. He does.
So what's the guy from the ship doing?
No, he becomes like a guy from the shuk.
Oh, the witness A becomes the guy like the guy from the ship. But it's still 75%.
No, because everybody recognizes his signature. There's got to be another witness here. You're right. In a case like this, obviously there's got to be another witness. Everybody knows Reuven's signature. Nobody knows Shimon's signature except for him,
Except for
Reuven, and one other guy from the marketplace, Yankel. So can Reuven join with Yankel on the second signature? Now, your question is still 75%. No, because the first signature, Reuven's signature, everybody knows. So Reuven actually doesn't even have to sustain that, because everybody knows that's Reuven's signature. In the Bible, it says actually that Reuven should write. In this case, the Gemara gives a practical suggestion. A question whether Yerushalmi does agree with this suggestion. The Mashbiach holds Yerushalmi does. Most of the question holds Yerushalmi doesn't. But the Bible says the guy Reuven should write his name, even if nobody knows him. Reuven should just write his name down now on somebody else's shtar, and then they can confirm it's his signature by comparison without actually asking him. So then he wouldn't be responsible for the 50% of Reuven at all, and there wouldn't be a problem 75%. Okay, so that's the so the Yerushalmi doesn't actually bring that down. But now the question is how to learn the next part of the Yerushalmi. So I'm Rabbi, it's not to learn like who is this? The Mashbiach, I think. I'm Rabbi said Bios. Is that a good psak? Ilush Naim. Oh, wait a second. The Mashbiach, yeah. Okay, I think I made a slight mistake. When it says At that point, the Gemara would say it doesn't work. Because the Gemara doesn't have here the eighth of the chaspa. It doesn't have the eighth of putting down his signature on a piece of pottery and comparing it. I'm afraid I confuse you, but let me try and extricate us from this difficulty. Reuven knows his own signature, and he knows half of Beryl. He knows Beryl's signature as well, so he can testify Beryl's signature, right? But he needs another guy from the marketplace. Another guy from the marketplace comes. That's two, right? So they testify Beryl's signature. The problem is Reuven is also testifying his own signature, right? So that's no good. That's what Yerushalmi thinks, because Nim says Kohedes Miskamis Beid Echad. One guy is sustaining all of the testimony, not literally all of it, but 3/4 of it. It's no good. So as Rabbeinu says, V'Aus, is that good? That you want a passel? No, not true. I have a way of saving this case. Two people come out of sea, which is primarily goyim. One of them, everybody knows that he's a Jew. Nobody knows he's a Jew. His friend does know. Can he become like one of the people from our place? Love to testify his friend. So if you say that, it's not a problem. The way the Mashbiach writes it, reads the statement. It's not a problem. Why? Because since everybody knows that Reuven is a Jew, you don't need him to testify that he's a Jew. Reuven himself. And so to an anarchist, since everybody knows it's Reuven's signature, even without him writing on a piece of pottery, you don't need testimony that it's Reuven's signature. Not from him. Everybody knows it's Reuven's signature. So therefore, in essence, Reuven is not responsible for his own signature. He's only not responsible for 75%. He's only responsible for 25%. What 25% is he responsible for? Shimon or Beryl's have a signature. Right? And that's okay. And here too, the same thing. And here too, because here as well, all the testimony is not sustained by one witness, and that's okay. So again, even though it doesn't say the word lo, the Mashbiach throws it in the beginning of the line. They're called lonim teis koles miskemes ve'ed echad. And the bottom line is that in fact, the way the Mashbiach learns it, the Bible and Yerushalmi come out agreeing. That it comes out that both of them hold that when you have two witnesses, but one of them can be verified independently, either because everybody knows his signature, or because he'll write on a chaspa, although I don't know if the Yerushalmi actually holds the chaspa thing, but he'll write it on a piece of pottery, and then he'll compare his signature, and that takes him out of the picture as a verifier, so that he can verify the other witness, half of the other witness. You look like you're in pain.
No, I know it looks like it, but I guess what I didn't understand is how does everybody really know? No, it's like procedurally, I didn't understand. Short of testimony in Bezdin, how can we Bezdin establish that this is his signature without testimony?
It's unincited. I don't even know if you need it unincited. Let's say two people come to base and say, yeah, we recognize it's his testimony.
Then it's time you have.
Yeah.
Then it's not as if. Then it's mom. Then you actually.
Mamish have other people.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. You're right. It's a good point. I guess it's an unincited, not that they actually come. But it's like everybody knows if Shlomo Zalman Auerbach's signature or Moshe Feinstein's signature. I mean, not that we do.
It's not a good question. It was just like
yeah.
How do I procedurally work this out?
Procedurally, as a lawyer. Okay. Says Gemara. Therefore, again, the Mashbiach throws a word. V'kol means says koles miskemes. It's not one witness. It's okay. Rabbi Chaga and Rabbi Zira bought. Rabbi Chaga said Rabbi Zira asked the question. It's not eid echad b'peh, eid echad b'shtar. You have one witness who testifies orally, one witness who testifies in a document. Ma'al she'id starfu, so they join together. Says, what are you talking about? What kind of narishkeit is this? Eid echad b'ksav klumu. There's no document with one witness. No such thing. So you can't even. There's no havamina that they would join together. So it says lo chein tzricha. Says no. This following case is my issue. There are two witnesses on the document. However, they're both gone. Matzul kain ksav yodo Shel Rishon, they were only able to verify one of the signatures, Lo Matzu Kaim Ksai Yel Shosheni, and not the second signature. So in that case, do I accept the one signature which is verified? This is a fascinating concept. I have a document which I can't accept both witnesses because only one is verified. Right? Can I accept the one which is verified, either to join with an Eid Baal Peh, or at least for the purpose of requiring a shvuah? That's the next issue. Right? Monabah. Eid Echad B'Ksav. One with witnesses is B'Ksav. Ma'u Zokah B'Shvuah, without, let's not be mitzarefet to the live witness. But on its own, can require shvuah, because normally an Eid Echad requires shvuah. What if the Eid Echad is in the document? So it says more again, Eid Echad B'Ksav Klumu, if you have one witness, the document isn't meaningful at all. We have two witnesses, Matzu L'Kaim Ksav Yerushalmi, you're able to sustain one, Lo Matzu L'Kaim Ksav Yerushalmi, and not the other. Do we take the one witness which were sustained, and do we say that it does require a shvuah, because an Eid Echad requires a shvuah? So a couple of interesting things here. First of all, Midoraisa, no document requires Q. If you hold, the Rambam holds there's no such thing as a shtar Doraisa. Doesn't work. Shtar is all the Rabban, the Rambam holds. A shtar Kinin works the Raisa, and Harei Mukudeshesli works the Raisa. Or Harei Soda Zuk Knuya, that works. But not a shtar Raya. A shtar which attests to something have occurred, that he holds the soul Rabban. But most Rishonim hold the shtar, it works the Raisa. The Raisa also, they hold it doesn't require a kiyum, it doesn't have to be sustained. The Rabbanan has to be sustained by having the signatures verified. So if that's the case, if you have a document which has two witnesses, only one of which is verified, the Raisa, it's a good shtar. That's why we can have a question. And what about if it's either the Rabbanan? Can it work halfway? In other words, that it can join together with a live aid, or that this can require shvuah? That's the Gemara's question, and the Gemara is not going to resolve this question, of course. I want to point out, however, Tosfos, I understand him, but Tosfos Kesuvos brings down the Yerushalmi, and then it brings down Ri, who says, anyway, it seems to him that if you have two documents, each one's having one witness, only one witness, you can join them together. It's almost as if Tosfos is arguing Yerushalmi. I'm not sure, I didn't look at it with enough iyun to tell. But it sounds like Tosfos is arguing Yerushalmi, you can have one document, one witness, two documents of that sort you combine together to make true testimony. It's an amazing concept. Okay. Says the Gemara, Kiladam. So like the following case. It sounds like they have to see it simultaneously or together, and therefore we cannot accept witnesses to combine together one Baal Peh and one B'chtav. Rabbi Shimon Korcha Amar, Rabbi Shimon Korcha says, I feel Rose that no witnesses do not have to see things simultaneously. They can see one after the other. Rabbi Yerushalmi Kesuvos Rav said, Rabbi Shimon Korcha. You can see it, Rabbi Shimon Korcha, when you can have witnesses in certain cases consecutively, not simultaneously. Beina B'chora. If Eidim testified that they heard the father identify one of his children as B'chor, and one heard him identify his child as B'chor on Monday, and the other heard him identify his child as B'chor on Tuesday, they joined together. And so to any concession, really, not just by B'chor. If one witness heard Reuven concede that he owes Shimon $100 on Monday, and the other witness heard Reuven concede he owes Shimon $100 on Tuesday, they combined together to say that Reuven owes Shimon $100. Okay? So anytime of this sort, the Eidim do join together. Okay? And so to Be'edus, also Be'edus Chazaka. If you have two witnesses on the first year of a chazaka, two witnesses on the second year of chazaka, two witnesses on the third year of chazaka, they all combine together. It says Gemara, Rabbi Bob Shem Rabbi said, this is also true about aim that a girl or boy has two hairs now in his bar mitzvah. It says Gemara, Mada, what are we talking about? Pshita, it's obvious. This one witness says, I saw two hairs on his or her back. The other one says, I see two hairs on his or her back, but not the same area of the back. And back is not literal. That doesn't mean part of the body. No, one says he saw two hairs over here, and the other said he saw two hairs over here. Do you join them together? No. Why not? Because one of them must be lying. Why must one of them be lying? So they're both looking at the back, and they didn't see hairs in the same area. then they must be lying, right? Because if they're both looking in the back, they should have both noticed both sets of hairs, because they're looking in the same general vicinity. If they didn't, we can't accept their testimony, because the odds are one of them is lying. Okay? Now, it could be, it's just a mistaken impression, but the odds are there's a lie involved. Okay? So that's obviously don't accept it. However, what about Echad Omer Ra'isi Sorachat Begabo? Echad Omer Ra'isi Sorachat Bekreso? Oh no, I'm sorry, this is an explanation. I mean, I'm saying the same thing, it's a continuation. Why is that what is just so true? Because even if Echad Omer Ra'isi Sorachat Begabo, one witness says, I saw one hair on his or her stomach, or back. I saw another hair. The other one says, I saw a hair on his or her stomach. Lo klum, they're not mitzdarif. Even though it's legit, they're not contradicting each other, because one was looking in the front, one was looking in the back. They're not expected to see the same thing. But we don't join them together. That's right? So, Koshke, certainly, Gabo v'Gabo, both of them are looking in the back, then they don't see the same thing, we don't join them together. However, what about Shnaim Rim Sarachas Begabo, Shnaim Rim Sarachas, there are two witnesses, each of which testifies in one hair. Yeshua Braid Rabbi Simoi. Yoshaya Braid Rabbi Simoi. Chayar Apostle, one says Apostle, Chayar Chayar Kosher, that says Kosher. Madam Apostle, says Apostle, Kemeid HaChatzi Simonim. Saloche, Dobar V'lo Chatzi Dobar. You have to testify the whole thing, not a half thing. This is a half a thing. So that's what happens to one. Madam Kosher, he says, who was? Who got? Who cares? Shema Noshru? Be real. You think one fell off by the time the other guy saw the one on the other side? They saw him simultaneously. Obviously, they're both at the same time. He doesn't hold this entire concept of Chatzi Dover. He says, why should you possibly say it's no good? He says, do we think one fell off? Baloney.
That's also machlokas in the Bible.
Mm-hmm. Right, this is machlokas about the same machlokas. However, this next case is not, I think, in the Bible. One says they saw two hairs on the back. The other said they saw two hairs on the front. So in essence, they're both testifying a davar sholim, but in different places. Are they joined together? Right? Everybody holds that's okay. For shteitzach, that's okay. Everybody holds it's no good. For shteitzach, it's no good. Right? What's Rabbi Yossi Omer machlokas? They argue about that case. So all possibilities. The previous Madamri argued about davar lo chatzi davar. Everybody could agree that they hold this is okay. Everybody agreed they hold it's no good. Everybody could agree that they have a machlokas. All right, that's Chagai. Rabbi said to Rabbi Chagai for Rabbi Yudan to savar kavasi. Wait, what brought about Rabbi Yudan? He holds like me, which is that I forget what he holds. Rabbi Chagai. No, it's not Rabbi Chagai. Rabbi Yossi says it's machlokas. Didn't Rabbi Yehuda hold like me? Somebody said, "Al the Rabbein Apolling." I argue Rabbi Yehuda's Rebbe, which is Rabbi Ba. V'lokoshke Lavi. What do I get? Rabbi Yehuda said, "I'm still going to argue on him. He's a student." All right, Ramana said, "Yo, so Rabbi Chagai." Nevertheless, he like Rabbi Chagai said. Rabbi Chagai says that everybody holds its possible. Why is that? In other words, two witnesses. One says he saw two hairs in the front. The other says he saw two hairs in the back. So everybody agrees it's possible. Why is that? So it says more very interesting. If you have a document which is signed with 4 signatures, the car lavar, and now it's called into question. Zemeid al Shnaim. So one witness testifies two the signatures are okay, and the other guy testifies that the 2 other signatures are okay. Do we accept their testimony? No. Right? Shema Klumu, does it mean anything? It's nothing. Don't you think every signature requires its own 2 edim? The card, so too, called Siman v'Siman tzarich shnei edim. Each one of the Siman requires 2 edim, and since you don't got it, you don't join together. Rabbi Chanina, Yoli b'shnei chazaka. Rabbi Chanina says we do join them together. He learns it from shnei chazaka. What we learn by shnei chazaka? Ilu echad me'ida shach l'shana rishona shniya v'shlishis. He learns that it doesn't work from chazaka. How so? One guy testifies that the fellow who was in the field was in there for year 1, 2, 3. The other guy testifies that he was in the field for years 4, 5, 6. You think they joined together? Obviously not. Each says, don't you think each year requires 2 witnesses? The consultuya calls simon tzarich each and every simon requires 2 edim, otherwise it doesn't work. But if you had 2 edim on one hair in the back and 2 edim on one hair in the front, it might work. Then now we had a machlokas dover or chati dover. But if you have 1 eid on 2 hairs in the back and 1 eid on 2 hairs in the front, everybody holds that doesn't work. It's simply nothing. And same is true by chazaka. If you have 2 edim on each year, then it might not work. It's only when you have 1 eid on 3 years, another eid on different 3 years, that it doesn't join together. Okay, a woman who says, I was married, and now I'm divorced. That meant she's believed. The mouth which forbade it is the mouth which permits it. Okay? If there are witnesses that she was already married, and she says divorce, because no pesha or pesha eater, right? Because we knew she was married independently. Finally, we learned, she already got married, and then Aiden came and said, 1 second, she was never divorced. So then, they'd say she doesn't have to get divorced. Rav Chuna and Rav Chanina took it a step further. They said, Lo so tov shnisha is not only when she gets married, that if Aiden comes and said she never got her first divorce, then she doesn't have to get divorced now. Once Basin allowed her to get remarried, that's enough. We don't open the court to new witnesses to come and undermine the heter we gave her. It was a fascinating concept.
What happens if the first husband shows up?
Doesn't matter. Because we still say it was divorced. Till proven otherwise. Because the first 2 witnesses determine it. Where it's death, and the husband shows up, so obviously it was a lie. That's the whole sugi nevamis. But where it's a divorce, and the husband shows up, we still say they were divorced. Okay? So it says more. Now this, by the way, is unique to the Yerushalmi. The Bavli does not say this. The Bavli says by a shvuya, and that's the case we'll have tomorrow, Mitzvah. A shvuya, a woman who was taken captive, and 2 witnesses came and said she remained Torah, and then she married a Kohen, and then 2 witnesses came and said she became Tameh. We don't accept the second set of witnesses. But that's because shvuya is a much lighter answer. It's only a Kohen, right? It's only a Rabbanan. But the Bavli does not go so far as to accept this by divorce. And by divorce, we should say that with the 2 witnesses come later on, that we don't accept them anymore. Nevertheless, that's Yerushalmi. But like a case like this, there was a certain woman. She said, I was married. I was married for Grushani, and I got divorced. V2, and they later got remarried because of Pesha Asa Peshitir. Midanafkas, when she left, they said to Rabbi Yochanan, they said, Rabbi, Harayadeh Belut, as witnesses of Lord who knew she was married. So ever she has no Pesha Asa Peshitir. Amr said, Kachani Omer, I say, I feel that Ksusnon. I think Ksusnon should be really Kesarin. Even your witnesses were very close to Tveria. Kesarin is very close, just across the Kinneret, right? Tamtin wanted to wait till the witnesses come. Right now she's got a Pesha Asa Peshitir. Right now we give her credibility. What happens later on, we're not concerned. Amr Serbun, similar, different tradition. Train of Dinavin. There were 2 cases like this. One case they said the witnesses are Lud. The other one they said Areda Kesarin. The witnesses are Kesarin, like it says here. So he said, I feel alone. It sounds like Ksusan is even closer than Kesarin. Tantin, you wanted to wait, we don't make her wait. Like what you said. Rabina asked, what if a woman says, I was Asian, I was divorced in New York. And said, nobody got divorced in New York that day. So in that case he said, they undermine her testimony. We don't believe her in that case to say she was divorced. Because even though since she named the place and we know there are no divorces there, tough on her. Rabbi Yossi Bar Yossi said like this: Arma Isha was married. This guy Shemagapari Melza Buyom had gotten divorced in so and so place in that day. Vov Arman this guy Shemakamploni. And two witnesses came and said there's a woman divorced in so and so place. Nobody got divorced in so and so place. The testimony is internally contradicted, but after she said she was divorced, right? So she already got her pesha asa pesha heater before the Edom came. She said she's married divorced before the pesha asa came. So we jump back in time to before the Edom came when he gave her pesha asa pesha heater. It's a fascinating case. So if she had a pesha asa pesha heater, which is then undermined by a clash of Edom, we remove the Edom, we go back to the pesha asa pesha heater. That works. Okay, similarly, Hayom Amra Eshes Ish Raisi. Woman says, today I'm an Eshes Ish. L'malcham, and the next ish says, Grushani, now I'm divorced. Armalos, we say to her, Esmol Amar Tochet. Yesterday you said this. V'yom Dein Amar Tochet. Chen. Today you say this, make up your mind. Armalon, so she says, this case is Bavli too. She says, you know why I say I was married yesterday? Nekasha Pritzim, because I had unsuitable suitors. Prutzim. Shayubainlis Davidly, who came to have relations with me. So I lied and said I was married. Rabbi Yamshem Rabbi Ela said, became a Shevi Masli, the verse which gives a reasonable excuse for why she said she was married. Then manner she's believed. Ki'adad is halach l'maisa very much. Shmuel boys Takuli say Shmuel wanted to have relations with his wife. I don't know how this case got into the Gemara. It's in the Bavli too. I'm not sure how we know about this case. But anyway, now I guess the rabbi snitched. Shmuel boys Takuli say, when I have relations with his wife, I'm late to Me'ani. They didn't have the headache excuse back then. She said, I'm a Nida. L'machor, I'm late. And the next day she said, okay, we can fool around tonight. Tonight I'm Torah. So she said, how can you be? Ask more my Tamea. Yom Day Torah. Yes, they said, you told me today you're Torah. She said, Lo Havas Becheli. I didn't have the strength last night. I shot last night. So Shiloh, well, can he believe it tonight? So Shal Rav, he went to ask the Rav. She said, and she had a good excuse. You believe her and you accept the excuse, and that's where we paskin halacha l'maisa.